Launched in 2011, the Partnership for Market Readiness, or PMR, has supported more than 20 countries to build the capacity to design and implement carbon pricing instruments. Over the program's 10 years, the PMR also produced a vast body of knowledge and provided a platform for sharing experiences and mutual learning. The lack of consensus at the Copenhagen Climate Summit in 2009 on a global agreement as a successor to Kyoto Protocol was a major setback to climate action, and the consequent absence of a clear policy signal had an adverse impact on international carbon markets. In the wake of Copenhagen, sustaining GHG mitigation activities across the board became a challenge, and maintaining support at the country level was crucial. That's where the PMR came in, as a World Bank initiative to help large developing countries and emerging economies develop and promote domestic carbon pricing programs for mitigation.
The rationale for building and creating PMR, apart from many other reasons, also quite important, is to build capacity of countries. After Copenhagen, we have seen was that many countries have already started to implement domestic action. They were looking at different types of instruments, how to achieve their mitigation targets in an efficient manner.
A total of $125 million was mobilized in funding from 13 contributing partners. The thematic emphasis of the PMR has been on explicit carbon pricing instruments, emission trading schemes, carbon taxes, and offset mechanisms. The PMR has supported 19 countries in developing their readiness maps with funding ranging from $3 million to $10 million. Another 4 countries received support as technical partners.
We were developing the carbon neutrality program in its first version, and also the domestic carbon market with some initial regulations. In one of the contexts with the carbon neutrality program, it was like an internal regulation within MINAE. And for the domestic carbon market, we created a decree. And it was at the time when we started this interaction, and we saw that joining the PMR was an opportunity.
The early support of the program focused on capacity building and technical assistance to help countries identify specific carbon pricing instruments, create the basic infrastructure, and develop proposals for future implementation. A dramatic shift occurred when the global community had reached a consensus on climate action in 2015 with the historic Paris Agreement. Among other things, carbon pricing and markets was identified as a key mitigation mechanism through Article 6.
Paris was a game changer, a positive game changer. It was also very innovative from its conceptuality, and give us a clear signal of direction, a clear signal of travel. No countries must work towards climate neutrality, and for this end, it is key to establish a constant willingness of increased ambition by all parties.
Accordingly, the PMR also has evolved its program focus to support some countries with their nationally determined contributions, or NDCs, and broader policy and markets analysis. Many of the PMR country programs adjusted the scope to reflect their concrete ambition and goals as a reflection of Paris commitments. As a complement to the country support, the PMR's technical work has generated and disseminated multiple knowledge products, analytical reports, and the annual report on state and trends of carbon pricing. The guidebooks published on ETS and MRV systems have been recognized as industry standard. Numerous training programs, courses, and knowledge exchange activities have contributed to the capacity building of an estimated 15,000 and more professionals across the countries the PMR supported. With its reach and scope, the PMR is perhaps the most consequential global program supporting emerging economies and developing countries, as concluded by the independent evaluations carried out. In fact, if the participating countries in the PMR go on to implement the carbon pricing and market instruments, That could result in significant mitigation, for those countries collectively account for around 44% of the global GHG emissions, as per 2015 data. The success and utility of the PMR is perhaps best reflected by the feedback of the implementing countries.
The key success of the project was the design of the law and bylaws of the MRV that is now functioning in Ukraine, and also a knowledge-intensive support in regard to the carbon pricing, the design of the ETS and CO2 taxation. This was really helpful.
I will highlight the institutional development side, where the ministries and the national level and local level and the government with the sectors and private sector has been aligned. And the second point would be the technical methodologies and guidelines and the MRV system that's been developed as the important basis for the development.
With the support of the PMR, first we developed the registry and MRV system, monitoring, reporting and verification, that is used in the application of our carbon tax. Also, we trigger with multi-stakeholders discussions to consider more comprehensive market-based instruments in our climate change bill. And finally, we have developed modeling tools and mitigation scenarios which have been a fundamental part of our decision-making process towards a clean energy transition and carbon neutrality.
Kazakhstan had an emissions trading system in place, but it was not at all aligned with its NDC ambitions. So even implementing their existing ETS would not have taken them anywhere near making the kind of necessary progress towards their NDC targets. So the bank, working with PMR Resource Support, was able to support the Kazakh government and other stakeholders in redesigning their ETS so that it truly aligned with the NDC ambitions.
In Mexico, the development and implementation of a stakeholder engagement and communication strategy has been a key ingredient of the program's success.
The PMR had very valuable experiences from other countries in developing communication strategies on carbon pricing. And we as GIZ in turn had local knowledge in Mexico and access to some of the key stakeholders. So we basically decided to join forces with PMR taking the lead and both organizations contributing with their special expertise and background.
The PMR program was instrumental in advancing the carbon pricing agenda in the LAC countries. 8 countries in the region, almost a third of all countries in the initiative, participated. And the result of this has been unprecedented creations of emission trading schemes, pursuing carbon taxes, and leading to further innovations.
So the PMR played a really significant role in socializing the role of carbon pricing in not just PMR-supported countries, but beyond. It has really helped raise awareness and deepen the understanding on the dual role carbon pricing plays, not just to support countries' mitigation objectives, but also as a policy instrument to raise revenues for green growth and or clean development.
There are several key factors that have contributed to the PMR's success. Besides the program's adaptability to the evolving domestic and international policy environments, the PMR has provided a platform for networking, knowledge exchange, and mutual learning. Perhaps the most prominent feature of the PMR has been its partnership model. The program recognized the role of partnerships and collaboration from the beginning and consciously leveraged this strength to inform all its activities. Adopting a participatory approach to decision-making has helped create a sense of ownership among the various stakeholders.
From the ICAP side, that collaboration has always been built on trust, on enjoying working together, on respect for the respective expertise in both teams, and on a focus on delivering what our target audiences, what the implementing countries, the next generation of carbon markets needs. And I'm very, very grateful for that experience.
The partnership between UNDP and PMR is beyond signing a financial agreement to just deliver a project or a program. It is about collaborating to enhance climate action through innovative approaches such as carbon pricing. So the program, the PMR, was integrated in a more holistic approach to implement Paris Agreement and more broadly to inform development trends in the countries.
The PMR partnered with the International Emissions Trading Association, IETA, to establish a Business Partnership for Market Readiness, or be PMR to support the private sector's readiness.
We felt we got success in building relationships in China with the business community, and similarly building relationships in South Korea and building relationships in Chile and Mexico and Colombia, the other places that BPMR has had some activities. I think going forward, I would say we've also recognized that it's not a one-shot deal, that ultimately we need to form coalitions on the ground that can be there to help make the markets work as they get implemented.
The key factor for the success and also for the joy in working with the PMR were the free open discussions. That was really great to having the developing countries and the donor countries sitting together in the PMR assembly and really discussing the crunch issues.
I think that is also one of the key lessons that we could conclude from the PMR experience, is that we need to do these kind of programs as part of a larger, developmental framework rather than doing them in isolation. So where we could actually integrate this program with the other developmental priorities, I think the program has witnessed a substantial amount of success.
More than 85 countries have included carbon pricing as an option in their NDCs. Thus, carbon pricing will continue to play a critical role as an instrument to achieve countries' overall climate ambition. To help countries move from readiness to implementation, the World Bank has established the Partnership for Market Implementation, or PMI, as the PMR successor. The PMI, which was launched at the beginning of 2021, is the culmination of a 3-year consultative process across all the key stakeholders. It is designed to carry forward the legacy of PMR as an inclusive, participatory model of program execution.
I also want to recognize the pivotal role which this PMR played in building capacity for implementation over the past decade. And the world is now ready to turn that capacity into action. So we can and hopefully will continue building on each other's successes, and there is still a long road ahead. We have a significant workload ahead of us and untapped opportunities for increasing the use of carbon pricing.